So for those that have been to the AI user group meetings, you guys, I don't know if I look familiar or if I could see it, but I've attended several AI user group meetings in the past because I really do like what they're doing here. As far as like getting enthusiasts together with experts to to interchange ideas. But I just wanted to show first who I am. I didn't fully prepare for tonight other than to make this into an activity with you guys. I am also an AI user enthusiast. And, just like many of you guys, there's people here in many different levels. How many people have used Midjourney before? How many people have used Runway before? How about Chat GPT? How about Suno? Okay, so a few people, right? So you guys are familiar with Suno as a Gen AI music creation tool. Anyways, I just kind of wanted to tell you first. I want to spend like just a few minutes on who I am, maybe put everything into context. Here's my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me and just remind me like where we met, and maybe we can continue discussing stuff beyond tonight. I've worked in the tech industry here in San Francisco for several years for LinkedIn and for Meta, but about 20 about 2020 or something like that, I decided to step out of the tech scene and kind of start just doing my own stuff. And I'll tell everybody here that it was awkward for a lot of my friends who I grew up here in the city as well, because we all grew up here in the city, and then the tech industry sort of just came to us. But many of us were very nerdy. We were totally into uh, like the punk metal scene. We were totally into like Dungeons and Dragons. We were totally into all this kind of like stuff that were regarded as being renegade in many ways. But I had brought that culture into the tech industry as well, where we were continuously researching stuff. I was involved in UX UI as well, teaching that at a school, a digital college across the bay called Expression Center for many years. And over there, we were able to experiment on many things that was prior to this sort of like big boom in AI. But just to roll back a little bit about my childhood here, if I could share first. Growing up here in the city during the 80s, I'm a lot older than most of you guys. Um, in the punk metal scene, it kind of gave us this sort of fervor for doing things different and always kind of pushing things over the edge. And we sort of developed this sort of stylism, right, in regards to making things kind of more aggressive. I guess in my case, right, because of the metal and punk scene. And in context for that, when I do create stuff, uh, my design stuff do tend to lean towards a lot of alternative imagery and sounds. So I had worked on a movie for like maybe like 10, 20 years, actually, with mixed media, creating, using like Super 8 millimeter film. How many people remember that? Probably your grandparents. And even with like spy cams that were at the time was like 240p, and we thought, wow, that's high def, or like uh, camcorders and like old, those type of cameras that we would take all that footage and then we would like mix it up and we would create something like this. I don't know how many people are are familiar with Ralph Bakshi. Ralph Bakshi was a Cool. Ralph Bakshi was a rotoscope animator where he took like old film and then drew on top of it, and that's how they created the animation, the cell animation. Where maybe like around like the 2000s, there was still this product called Macromedia, that created Director and Flash, Dreamweaver, and I forgot Fire or something. And those programs were eventually acquired by Adobe. And Adobe with Flash, we were able to then take QuickTime videos and then vectorize them to turn them into animation. And so I was trying to fashion something like that with this particular project, and I'll just show you guys just a portion of it. So this music was created with programs like Reason 2.0, which is a MIDI program that I was then able to utilize sounds to design the bass. It's using sine waves, and then was able to um, use the MIDI to then replicate drum patterns that I wanted. Now the images were taken at various parts of the scene here, like around the 2000s, and we simply just like took these videos, and in order to marry them all together, we utilized this rotoscoping technique, similar to movies like Waking Life. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but those type of like movies where you would see the video and then they would like animate right on top of it. So we were like trying to replicate that by utilizing some of those methods. And what I'll do is I'll fast forward a little bit just to show you like how that works out. So this is all before like filters and Instagram, and even in After Effects, you know, they before all that, like we were having to like do it in Flash, right? It was very cumbersome and it took like a long time. This is all like before we could utilize like programs like Maya or other like 3D programs. So I just wanted to kind of just show you guys a sample of what I was doing at the time, you know, in regards to this. Why this is important is because, you know, as an indie filmmaker, right, growing up here in the city, it was very important for me to, you know, really have full control over the stuff that I really wanted to make. I was in the tech industry creating stuff for other people, and it was, you know, okay, you know, accolades and metrics and analytics, and it's all great, and promotions and whatever, but I was always kind of missing, like, well, I want to make something dark and kind of like about breakups, you know, and not, you know, necessarily about like, you know, gung-ho commercial stuff. So because of that, you know, I kind of went on my own venture, and even though it took a long time, I went and did it, and I did it my particular way. I did all the music, I did all the videos, I did all the shots. I wrote, I produced, I directed it. I did the animations that were included in it. I scored it, and then I also ended up like marketing it and also like taking it on. It's now available at Amazon finally, but like nobody's watching it, so. All right, so in regards to, I did win like a few accolades, and it was a official selection SF Indie Fest in 2020. So there's that. Why am I boasting about it? Well, because I'm trying to put into context about how important it was for me to have like a side project, a creative project, as somebody who is maybe doing tech, or in many cases, because I'm also part of the IASA local union here as an AV engineer. We do a lot of labor kind of work as well, which feels really great. But at the end of the day, I'd like to like get home and I want to create something. And typically it would be like doing another sort of like epic story movie, or in many cases I would like make music. So in one case I had started developing this like idea of a sci-fi flick where we had used a program called AIVA, took the MIDI and then replicated it into like a symphonic score. And then at the time, that was when Midjourney was starting to kind of really put out a lot of like good updates. And just like with the speaker before me, you know, we were going into Midjourney, creating style sheets, utilizing photography terms and lenses as part of our parameter structure, so that when we put it out, it would always look like a Kodak, or it would always look like a Fuji shot. And then we would then take those images, and then we would go to runway, and then we would then animate it. And then in animating it, like, of course, we burn through so many, like, credits all the time. And that's really the nature of AI programs, right? Is like, you gotta pay, you it was free for a good minute, like on Hugging Face, when we were all there like several years ago, just coming up with going into spaces in Hugging Face. By the way, so if you guys haven't heard of Hugging Face yet, you guys should check out huggingface.com. There's also Hugging Face Chat, or called Hugging Chat, which is pretty much like Chat GPT with all of the different models, but everything's free. Um, and you could train a lot of stuff on there. And it's just like a really good playground. But as far as like doing really quality stuff, I say use Midjourney, use Runway, check out Kling.ai, check out like I think Minimax is the new one out of China. And these are all like video renderers, right? So image to video rendering. And so for a lot of you guys that are motion graphics folks, you know how important it is to have sound in your stuff. So how many people here are motion graphic designers? Oh, okay. So for the both of us, uh, video editors at all? Okay, so motion graphic designers, video editors, you know how important it is to utilize sound and music for your craft, right? So I'll just show you like what it is that I did for this one particular project, where we did exactly what the last speaker was talking about, which is utilizing seed and C references to maintain a consistent face with all of the characters and all of the, in this case, spaceship and background. And then, so let's just take a look at like how it ended up. All right, so that's just an example of what you can do with Midjourney using like seed references. So these are things that you guys, I know a majority of people that are graphic designers are looking for tips and tricks in how to actually create a lot of their graphic design print for their, client projects. But for those that are hobbyists like me, who really just like creating stuff, using this stuff, um, you know, I think utilizing really getting deep into the Discord version of Midjourney, where you could go deep into your parameter structure. You could also layer them, meaning like you could assign a particular set of parameters that, let's say, once you start to generate the kind of images that you want to create, you could save that and then always call it up, right? And so that way you could have like something consistent throughout your creation process, utilizing Midjourney, and then utilizing Runway to animate it for you. But what I'm showing you in front right now is like something in particular to like my transition into like the music part of this. As you saw in my that last project with the movie thing, the music was made by myself, and this was something that I really enjoyed growing up here in the city, right? I was part of bands. There's a lot of like metal bands and punk bands that were happening here during the 80s. And it was actually like my way of being able to get out of the type of trouble that many people my age at that time would get into, right? And it was music that got us out of it. And one of the big things about it was that that sort of camaraderie and collaboration with other human beings was so important, especially at that age, as y'all understand, right? That is something that really you can't get from a computer by yourself, right? But like meeting people, then like where you're able to then give ideas and then they then collaborate with you. That was like such an important thing. But after a while, when in my case, when our age group got past high school, people went to s- school, like myself. Some other people went to the military, like many of my other friends. Some people like went back into the streets, right? For a lot of those folks, and it was very troubling for myself because I lost a lot of like musician buddies that I really needed that was really inspiring for me. And since then, it's just really been chasing the holy grail, right? Uh, I meet so many other musicians. They're great and everything like that. But when we try to collaborate, the egos clash, says schedules clash. Sometimes the girlfriends clash, and sometimes many things that kind of just get in the way, and it became very hard for me to find other collaborators, people that would give me ideas, and then I throw something at it, and then you give it something back. Until I found Suno. Okay, so once I found Suno, I was then able to start generating some of these ideas that I had for particular projects that I couldn't before. Not just by buying sound libraries or licensing music constantly. So what I started to do was create music, and then um, I went ahead and published it. So one of the things that I did was I did a project called So Chill, and this is something that started out on Chat GPT, where I created the lyrics on there. I had Chat GPT translate it, and then into Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And then um, from there, brought it into Suno, generated the music from Suno, um, exported the audio, brought it into another digital audio workstation. Like in my case, I used Logic Pro, and but you guys could use other free stuff like CapCut if you guys want to use that, which is a video editor, but you could also use it for audio. And I basically brought it to Logic and then mixed it myself to change it enough so that I am not ripping anybody else's work off, and then published it uh, uh, through a digital distribution platform. So now this is available on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. So I'm just going to play a section of one of these songs. And you'll see here on this side over here, this was created using Midjourney and Runway to create the clip.
Siento el peso del cielo gris, sombras negras en mi piel. De todo lo que tengo aquí, solo soy buena suficiente. Soy muy suficiente. Todos susurran tan fuerte, las calles vacías sin compás. Mis pasos lentos en desorden, mi mejor es lo que puedo dar.
Okay, so
Cierro los ojos.
what's interesting about this project was people were asking like, why'd you make this? What for? And I really didn't have a good answer. I think I was working on a different project for a client, and I was getting frustrated. So I just stopped whatever I was doing and turned around and I just started making like music or clicking buttons for a lot of people, right? But I was telling Suno like, what chords, what scale progressions. I was telling it all what I wanted it to do, and then I had to burn through all the credits in order to get what I want. But ultimately, I ended up I think after about 2, 3 hours, I had like a full album of like stuff. And I was like, oh well, I'll just like do something with this. And then at that point I was like, okay, I'll get back to the client, and then I was able to finish the work. And it was that sort of fervor that I had in regards to with the AI stuff. I was able to just like really let it like how to say answer to my call to do something like on my own in my different I guess maybe it's just the way my brain works. So I had done something like this. And now um so my friends all know that I do like this AI music kind of stuff, right? And one thing about me also is that I'm very involved with my community, the Filipino community here in San Francisco. And one of the things that we like doing besides food and partying is stick fighting. So I wanted to show you guys something that is that we were doing, and I'll put into context too. So this is just something that we do. Let's be on the right. This is called Filipino stick fighting or eskrima. Guess who made the music? Spoiler alert, by the way, he beats me, by the way. All right, cool. I'm gonna spare you guys the violence, but so because of this, a friend of mine recently um came and visited us in one of the festival presentations that we were doing. We were doing a demo like this, and she was like, "Well, you know, we need music for our event that's coming up this Saturday." And I was like, geez, well, maybe I could help you out. Why don't I like put something together for you, right? And why don't you tell me what it's about?" And so in sharing that, what I did is I went to Chat GPT. And after talking with the person that's organizing it, I asked them like a few questions in regards to what the theme of the event was. And it's about like giving back to our community. And as like which community? She was like Crocker Amazon. I was like, oh, I don't know if you guys know, but Crocker Amazon is probably one of the last vestiges of San Francisco that is still kind of San Francisco. But a long time ago, it was kind of considered to be a rough neighborhood. So what I did is I had asked ChatGPT to write a rap song in the structure where I told it start with the chorus, verse, and also in what vein. I said in the vein of Eminem meets Tupac, and the topic is leaving the old toxic neighborhood to find a better life, only to come back to make other lives better, right? And then what it what it did is it spat out like a bunch of verses. Some people call these bars, but we'll call them verses. And what I did is I went into Suno, and I had plugged it in to. Well, let me see if I can get to that song right quick. So in one of these songs right here, after like throwing in the lyrics, it then gave me this.
I left that old block, yeah, the cracks and the scars. Chasing dreams past the streets, aiming for the stars. Made it out of the grind, past the struggle and the wait. But now I'm back here, I ain't closing no gate. I'm giving back, shedding light in the dark. Bringing hope to my people, reigniting that spark. I remember nights.
Okay, so here's Suno, as you can see. And for those people that have never seen Suno before, this actually is probably right now like one of the leading like Gen AI music generators. Of course, you guys could find other apps out there that's available. But right now, Suno has like some things about it that's really helpful, like being able to edit just a section, or be able to create what's called a persona. A persona would be is like you could take the vocals of or like a song, and then turn the vocal of it as a persona, so that way you guys could be more consistent in the voice, right? Versus all these like random voices. Um, but generically, a lot of these AI music have like the same voice because it's all tend to be trained that way. And one way to get around, having like the same generic voice is to use another program like Kits. So what I would do is like you would after you have like a song that you generate however many credits in order to get to, you could then download it into an MP3. You could also extend it. You could do a cover song of your own song, right? You could also get stems, which means like all the separate files, like the drums, the bass, the guitar, right? But in the Suno case, you only get the vocal and the music. So you would need another program to separate the instruments, right? Let's say you do something like that and I've downloaded it, right? So I'm gonna quit here. And then I would then go into Kits. So Kits is a another paid subscription program where you could do voice cloning. How many people here have heard of 1111 Labs? So, as you know, 1111 Labs, you guys could train a model, right? Particularly for speech, and which is very useful, especially if you do a lot of like, if you're into education or do like academic podcasts or even storybooks or audio books. 1111 Labs is quite important, especially if you do anything on social media. You guys hear the same voice all the time, right? That sort of AI voice is like, I forgot who, but there's like an AI voice that's constantly being used. So one way you could customize it is to create like your own voice clone. So on Kits, what I had done is I had created like my own voice by taking one of my uh or 15 minutes of my lecture and uploading it into the model here to train it so that it remembers my voice, right? And so how that would help is like, let's say if you were going to convert something like if I want to say like I had already done this before because it takes about 3 hours to train, right? And usually what you would do is you would record yourself for like maybe 15 to 30 minutes talking in all kinds of different inflections and different pitches. And then you would then upload it into their voice cloning system here, and it would analyze it. It takes about like 3 hours to actually get like a complete trained voice model. And it's not always, great, but you'd be surprised. So in this case, um, like I had taken some speech or like take the vocals after I had um generated the music in Suno and then uploaded it into here. I would then able to go and by uploading the song input, right? Use the voice model. In this particular case, I would like select and then one that I had actually created for myself. But you could also use the many different types of like vocal uh, singers from different styles, country to pop to blues to ballads and things like that, right? So just an example of what that sounds like, for example. So in this case, I would use my own voice and I would select like my own speaking voice, for example. And if I wanted to say something, I would say like "Hello world," and I'll just do a medium or a high because I tend to speak high when I talk. So when you do a convert, it will convert it quite fast, right? And what you could then do is like take this sort of vocal samples and then use it for your videos or something like that, right? So it would sound like "Hello world." Hello world. That's me. All right. So, but in my particular example here, like we had taken that song, and what I had done is I had ran it through that system, and it'll automatically replace the vocal of the song. It will basically parse it out to different stems, take out the the vocal track, replace it with your clone, and then marry it back.
I left that old block, giving tracks in the stars, chasing dreams past the streets, aiming for the stars, made it out of the ground.
So yeah, so you guys remember, like we had created this in Suno, but now this is my voice
I'm
cloud.
giving back, shedding light in the dark, bringing hope to my people, reigniting that spark. I remember I left that old block, giving tracks in the stars,
She's now using our voice clone.
aiming for the stars, made it out.
Do they sound like me?
Past the struggle in the wait.
So that's AI.
Back here, I ain't closing no gate. I'm giving back, shedding light in the dark, bringing hope to my people, reigniting that spark. I remember nights, street lights flickered, cold winds blew, violence thicker, neighbors gone ghost, all boarded.
Is that my voice? It sounds like me, didn't it? All right. So in this case, what I had done was like it took me about like 2 to 3 hours to do just that. In regards to also like taking breaks because I was also cooking at the same time, and I was doing like it was like ground beef and mushrooms and omelet. So I had to kind of it was quick. But I basically had already recorded my lecture, right? And I had taken a snippet of it, and I had I had uploaded into kits already, right? So it was already available. So that was part of the reason why it was fast. But otherwise, you would have to wait another 3 hours whenever you do that. Um, so so what happened then was that I had like taken the chat GPT, had taken the lyrics, I had then brought it into Suno, it generated the music, I brought it into kits, I had created a voice model, I had replaced the voice model, and now I could like put it into another program like Fader, where I could then take a song and then basically remix it, right? So this was like that was like one of the songs that we had done, right? And so uh with this, like I'm able to like
But now I'm back here. I left that old block here, the cracks and the scars, chasing dreams past the street. Just made it out of the grind, past the struggle and the wait. But now I'm back here, I ain't closing no gate. I'm giving back, shedding light in the dark.
so I could just take just the music, right? And then be able to then bring it into like another program where I would like replace it with my own voice or something like that in order to kind of turn it into something completely my own. So this is just like one example of what I had done to utilize AI programs, in this case, ChatGPT, Suno, Kits, and Fader, to basically create like a song for my friend's event this Saturday. And it took me about 2 to 3 hours versus months of scheduling all the people that needed to come together in order to do this, right? And then collaborating with them and all the beer and pizza I would need to buy in order to like keep them all happy, right? And so I think what this has really done is really sped up the production process for myself, where I could then take the idea, and if I really truly want to turn it into something, I could then present it to like my artist friends, and then we can talk business after that. So this is still, in a sense, like a way for creating like mock-ups, but mock-ups that people can hear, right? And they could actually, you could even utilize this sort of method of adding, audio to your, to whatever presentation that you're doing, right? So in, how much I got? Oh yeah, so I think importantly also, this sort of like deal with Suno and generative AI music, the big deal about it really is how legal is this, right? This is like one thing that everyone always has to deal with in regards to AI, whether you're new or old to it. Because we all know that a majority of the artwork was modeled on pre-existing material that was already available online, right? And some people will argue, okay, well, we're humans, so like when I play a guitar ditty, I'm actually influenced by all those other things the same way, right? So what's the difference? And some people say, well, you can't really just like, play an Elvis song and then call it yours, right? You would need to pay licensing to to the lyrics and I guess to whoever, right, in order to utilize it, right? So there's always that big question as to how do you deal with all these things? And we are in the frontier of all that, right? And I think what's important for people to remember, though, that of course record labels are not looking out for the artists, and they're looking out for the labels, right? And if they own something, they want to make sure they get paid for it, right? And what's happening with Gen AI music is that it pretty much cuts a lot of that out. We're able to create music now. We've lowered the entry barrier. And most importantly, for people like me that need to create music to kind of like deal with life, we're able to just do that. And some people say, well, you're not really making music, you're just pressing buttons and writing in prompts. Like, yeah, but have you heard of HTML? You know what I mean? It's like that's how you got the website. They had to like write everything out, you know? And it is like another way of designing and developing, even though you don't have a camera anymore. I happen to love lomography. I love old plastic Russian toy cameras, right? And I love like taking pictures right here. I love the light leaks. I love Polaroids. I love all those things. I love Lomos with the four shots. I love panos. These are all old stuff that if I find it in the flea market, I totally geek out. But I'd have to find it at a flea market. But with Mid Journey, I'm able to like put everything in that I need to like say, and it just knows. It doesn't completely know. I would need to train it, but I'm able to then generate whatever image that I want, right? And same with Suno. If you're into music, if you need music to basically um, use for your video projects. Or maybe for Christmas, you might want to write a song for that one special person that you've been wanting to tell, something about, right? And it's one way to be able to use that, right? So I really think that the access to these tools is very important. And we also need to protect it because people are trying to shut it down because they're afraid about losing their jobs, they say, right? But actually, if um, just like when Photoshop came out, um, it didn't kill the painter. AI still cannot paint, right? There's still the human aspect of it that's still there, and it'll always be like that, I believe. So I would say, if there's anything that we can do to make sure that these tools are readily available for us, so that we can um, do our own creative work faster and cheaper, right? And better, right? That's like the best freelancer ever. So, thanks for listening to that. Well, when I first started using Suno, it was right when it came out, so it was very limited. But now you could just type something like, I could even show you something very simple. So in Suno, when you go to create, what kind of music do you like? What kind of music do you like? Blues. So you could do style of music blues, right? You could say chord progression. What kind of chord progression? Um, Something like I can't actually see. I'll do like an A minor chord or something like that, right? And I'll say like slow, and I'll say emotive or something. And then for the lyrics, you could say it's a song about like I miss my dog, right? And then you could say just I miss my dog, and then you could click the right about, and it will automatically generate lyrics for you. right? Like this. Okay, and then you could also even say exclude styles, right? So let's say let's not no rock, right? No hip hop, no jazz. Well, jazz blues is cool, so we'll keep jazz, right? Um, and then for a persona, like what I was talking about before, this is like designing the voice based on another song that you had created. So let's say we don't have one right now, right? We'll just create it this way, and it automatically created a title for me, Paws and Whiskers. And then once we hit create, it'll burn like about 10 credits, right? And then you can do this as many times as you want, right? Until you get something that you like. But look how fast it just like made it, right? So now we have like uh, a song. I'll play it.
On a morning hike we used to go where the winds would gently blow. Now the trail feels so alone.
It's nice, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't sound human." I don't know. I think when I like, hear the words, so that's actually what comes to me, because that's what touches us in our heart. Typically, is, how we connect to a song.
Chasing dreams in the
But this is the generic female vocals, by the way, that Suno has. So let's listen to the second one.
on a morning hike
We used to call
What's it, dude?
where the winds would gently blow. Now the trail
They'll give you two each time. So it is rolling a dice. And but if you want to really notice how easy that is, right? You could also like create something where like I've done this before where I would just
still see you.
let's say I would say intro, and I would put it in brackets, right? It works as I guess meta tags. And I would say intro, and I would say, let's say, guitar lead. And then I'll say verse 1, and I'll write something like, where's the pizza? And then put it in brackets and say like maybe 5 times, right? And then we'll do chorus, pepperoni. How many times? Let's just say 5 times. Okay. 5 times, and then we'll just do end, right? Like this. Okay, and let's style of music, let's say thrash metal. And then exclude styles, we'll just say symphonic. No, new metal. Because if you're a true metalhead, you don't like new metal. No. Something like that. All right. So and then we'll change the title from Paws and Whiskers to Pepperoni. Right. So when we hit create, you'll notice like based on the lyric length too, it'll affect like the the Okay, so You could do, you could just, and that was like too easy. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's hear like what the second one sounds like really quick. It's still metal. I'm actually gonna keep this. There we go. Okay, so so this can get really fun. Like maybe your parents like Frank Sinatra or something like that, right? Or for the majority of guys, maybe your parents like The Cure or maybe something or No Doubt or something like that, right? Much later in time. So there's like there's many things that you can do. The only thing that you can't do in Suno is basically tell it to create music based on an actual artist. You would just need to say 90s ska, and then it will make a bunch of music that sounds like No Doubt or Sublime or things like that because it was trained on those models, right? And if you wanted to maybe create like something like and I've done this in many different projects. I'm actually working on a project right now that is basically J-pop, right? And I don't speak Japanese, so um, I'd have to like still get somebody who speaks Japanese to basically verify to make sure it all sounds right, right? So I think, for example, there's this one here. And like and I had fashioned it based on like some um really I just told it like sexy lo-fi hip hop, 73 BPM, make it dark. And then I plugged in Japanese lyrics that I created out of say, like on ChatGPT. And automatically it sounds like something you would hear at some retail shop in Tokyo if you ever go there, right? So there's all these things that you could do. I mean, I'm just showing you guys like all the possibilities that you could create with Suno, just for like like for even for your project. So for example, like before I came here earlier, I was working on the other project, and so for example, let me see if I could replicate something really quick here. Text to speech.
Here's a rap in Japanese about eggshells in an omelette, capturing the frustration and humor of finding them in your food.
So I was like creating all this like stuff, right? That I would then need to take like that audio and then basically like use it for the video that for the particular client that I have, and it was just instead of me having to hire somebody on Fiverr or somebody like that to basically create the thing for me, I did have to pay $10 a month in order to generate unlimited amount of not unlimited but like a certain amount of material that I could then use, so
The impact of AI on the music industry is set to be transformative, reshaping music creation, production, and distribution. AI tools like AI Via and Kits.ai allow creators to generate new compositions or enhance existing music with sophisticated sound design, democratizing music creation and enabling independent artists and smaller companies to produce high-quality music more affordably. For record companies, AI offers productivity gains, allowing rapid music production and even tailored music experiences for listeners. This shift could blur lines between producer and consumer, with fans potentially collaborating or remixing songs legally. However, this technology introduces significant...
So what I'm showing you guys right now is I basically like created like I put all of my lecture notes into Kits and then just replace it with my voice. And then I'm able to then export a lot of this stuff too. And then you're able to then control like the emotiveness of it by adding
Who owns it?
the depth and I guess it would, I forgot what they call it, but on here you're able to then like change
An AI generated
the
piece resembling a well-known
how do you say
artist's
the
style
uh
might infringe on that
the
artist's IP.
variations in the way you speak. So let's say if you guys are making podcasts, you could basically plug in all of like your material in there and then export the audio and then using like a podcast creation programs. You could, you don't need to sit there and talk and
Artists
edit
and protections
forever anymore. You could basically just
music
type it all out.
where if AI
And you can have ChatGPT help you out do that. You can even, with ChatGPT, upload all of your research, your PDFs and things like that. Then it will automatically scrub it and then create the lecture out for you. And then you're then able to then export it into a full speech.
these rights
And then from there, I think like we could use Suno to basically like create like the background music for it, whatever it is. And then so now you don't have to like pay for like any other service other than that, and you have like no like licensing issues if you were using music that you generated with the paid subscription program for Suno. So I'm hoping like maybe I was able to answer more than like you wanted out of that, but I just wanted to kind of like show you that you could be as simple as you want and then accept whatever you have, or you could really get deep into it and really create with this, based on how far you really want to take it. In parallel to that is that when I pick up a guitar and I record it and then I decide to overdub my bass and then I also decide to overdub my drums and then I go to my band and I go, listen to this, can you guys play this? And then they would play it and then we have like a live song, right? And then there's the approach where we show up, bong rips, start playing, and then we just create something. We have it recorded and then we have to try to remember it, right? And then that's the other approach that you're talking about, which is this sort of collaborative thing. I don't get that with the AI.
Right.
I get the first scenario with AI where I'm able to get my ideas out and then take the ideas and then I have to present it to all of my folks and go, hey, do you guys like this? Let's play it. And then we would play it live.
Right.
So the difference though is that before I would need to get on GarageBand, do loops, structure, arrange everything. Whereas with this, I could just tell it like, here's the structure, here's the lyrics, here's the chord progression, here's the time signature. I think empathy would be the biggest skill.
Okay.
Yeah. Like emotional intelligence will be able to dictate for you what sort of music you could make. Because a lot of people like use Suno, create music really just for themselves. And then they want to put it out and say, look, I did it, right? And then there's people that are just having fun making this stuff, writing songs about their dog, or pizza,
Yeah.
and then just being creative in that sense, because it then spits back feedback to you, like what we were just doing. Okay, it gave me automatic feedback, and that's the sort of same triggers that I have for collaborative work, where like I do this, I feed it back, and then I take that idea, I go back, and then it spits back something. It's like collaboration going back, but this time it's not late. It's not on drugs. It's not hitting on my girlfriend. You know what I mean? It's a different experience. I'm curious also because this is on a serious note. There's a majority of my musician friends hate what I'm doing. They hate it. They're like, I mean, we're still friends and they still invite me out. But just the fact that they feel kind of usurped, and also maybe because they spent 30, 40 years crafting their stuff. And then I'm like, they're going like this, I can do math rock now, like that. to them it's insulting. Um, and then there's the other group of friends that I have that are DJ producers. They make drum and bass, they make dub, they make whatever, techno or lo-fi or whatever. And they're just like, they're going like, oh man, they don't have to search for anything, because typically that's the hardest part, right? When you're scrolling for stuff to watch in a movie, before you watch a movie, right? It takes forever. Whereas with this, you just tell it what you want and it won't always, but most of the time it will give you something that you could then springboard from. So there are artists that are using it now, commercial artists, and there's people that have been receiving backlash on it because of this idea that it's taking talent jobs away. There's DJ producers that are saying, well, this person can't sing that well, but we'll make her star anyways by using, voice clones and doing things like this. There are those people too. Which one is more prevalent? I would say those that are against it, I think would be the majority. And so I use this really as a hobby. And as far as like creating commercial music and things like that, I am still 101% behind human beings. But if, but if they're always late.